Hello and welcome back to Keeping BZ, the show where Zach and I, two friends, B and Z, show each other a game. And today I'm going to be showing Zach RKGK, or Rakugaki, which is a new independent game that comes to us from Wabisabi Games, I believe is their name. Wabisabi, they're publishing this game under Gearbox, Gearbox Publishing, which, if that makes you afraid because of Gearbox's reputation, don't worry. This is not a Gearbox situation. This is not an Aliens Colonial Marines. This is not... I mean, some of you out there might like Borderlands. I like the gameplay. I don't like the writing so much of Borderlands, and Rakugaki's writing is not amazing, but it doesn't make me cringe like Borderlands, because the writing's not the point of this game. The point is the gameplay. So Rakugaki is a platformer. It is I've seen a lot of people compare it to Ratchet and Clank, and I guess I kind of see it if we're talking about like what is it? A Crack in Time? A Crack in Time was the one where Ratchet got like rocket skates, which you have an ability in this game that kind of gives you that. So the way I would describe Rakugaki is like your usual 3D platformer kind of combined with Jet Set Radio. You basically use graffiti for everything in this game. You use it to slide around like you see there. You can use it to attack. You can use it to hover. You have all sorts of abilities that way. And I'm just going around the hub world here showing off what you can do. You actually have two different shopkeepers selling you costumes in this game. One of the costume areas is purely for like skins to buy like new clothes. And one of them is more like a costume shop where you can buy full on just different costumes for your character, which is Vala. Vala has a costume where she can dress up as a wrestler. She can dress up as a manga character. So she's all like in black and whites and grays. She has like a schoolgirl outfit because of course, and a lot of like the skins, like the outfit designs, are purely based around anime. Like they have an Akira themed one. They have a like an Asuka from Evangelion themed one. Like the costumes in this game and the skins for your clothes are like the developers perfectly knowing what people that play the game would want to actually buy in terms of skins, what they would want to wear, what they think would look cool. Because so many games I play, when they have skins or like buy the digital deluxe edition to get this skin, they always suck. Like, especially like with the new Spider-Man 2 game on PS5, like some of the costumes you get in-game are pretty awesome, but the extra ones they always include as bonus material I think always look pretty bad. They're always too overproduced or overcomplicated design-wise. So Zach, you only saw this game purely just by watching the trailer, right? You don't really know anything else about it?
No, I don't know anything, and I don't even remember that much of the trailer right now, to be honest.
So as you can see, you're seeing a lot of like the Jet Set Radio influence here, where you're painting stuff. So like right now, we got like a huge billboard, because your main collectible in this game is not like the tokens we're collecting. The tokens we're collecting is just to buy like new costumes, new graffiti, that kind of stuff. And you also get a level objective is to get a certain amount of coins. But the actual collectibles in this game are just graffitiing stuff. The main villain has a bunch of screens that you can graffiti over, and that's your main collectible. Because there will be like the boss levels in most worlds will have a set amount of graffitied objects you'll have to do in order to unlock them. And then, use that on that screen to unlock them. And some of these graffitis are very like deviously hidden. Like even in this whole video, there is no point where I get every single one of those in a level, because many of them are really well hidden, which a lot of people, when they reviewed this game on Steam, kind of talk the game down, because whenever you jump in this game, you lose all momentum that you got when you were running. And a lot of people hated that. Because they wanted this game to be more like Sonic. They wanted to be based more around the momentum of your movements carrying through. While this game is more like a traditional 3D platformer where you have abilities. I mean, she almost in some ways is almost kind of like a Mega Man X, or I guess you could call her sort of like a Ratchet and Clank 2. As you can see, she has a double jump. You can coast on your graffiti, which is one of my favorite moves. You have like a mid-air dash, kind of like Mega Man. And you can also hover with your graffiti. And the game is all about basically just combining those moves all together to just keep your flow up. There's sort of like a combo system for how many enemies you hit or how many different types of moves you're always using. But primarily, while people said, oh, this game's not about speed, actually, most of the objectives and levels are about doing the levels as fast as possible. Yes, you don't constantly gain momentum, but if you know how to keep combining the moves together, you'll always be moving in some respect. And I find the movement system satisfying, both because the game just looks cool. Like, every move you do is using graffiti and painting the environment. And also, it's just the fact of the control feels great. Like, Vala just feels really smooth to control, and the moves combined together just feel very satisfying in the way that the animations transition into each other. So yeah. What are your thoughts so far just watching the gameplay, Zach?
Honestly, the game does look very neat, and even though you're not carrying a lot of momentum, I could definitely see how this could be like a speedy type game, with the way you can constantly keep moving and chain a bunch of actions together, like you said. I also really do like that a lot of her moves, because the graffiti base do actually paint the level. That's really neat.
Yes, so you saw there when we painted that one piece of graffiti, a shockwave came out of it, and you probably saw that a bit in the past. So what's really cool about the graffiti is not only does it, create a cool design over top of whatever you painted on, it sends out a shockwave that paints the environment with everything it hits, and also if there are any collectibles in the range of that shockwave, it collects them for you. Which, just visually it adds a lot of style to the game, and also just adds a function that makes it so that, you don't have to, if there's a bunch of collectibles in an environment and you don't want to waste time collecting them, you can just graffiti that mark, and then it'll pick it up for you while you're running around. So another thing people complained about with this game was the combat. They found the combat way too simple and repetitive. Well, as I really disagree with this, because as you've probably seen, Zach, the combat is it's always about just movement. Like, you're never not moving when you're doing the combat. You hit the enemies once, they blow up, you move on. And you actually have 3 different ways of attacking enemies in this game. You can just tap the attack button to attack the enemy by spraying out a ray of graffiti. You can jump in the air and hover, and the graffiti you're casting downwards, like you're spraying downwards, will hit any enemies on the ground. And in the bottom right corner, you can see our meter. And when our meter is full to the top, it means that our like that dashing along the ground graffiti move we're always doing, that will also now hit enemies, and we can just blast through them. So it always means that you have multiple options in terms of taking out enemies. And so when combat arenas do show up in the game, I actually find them fun, because it's all about just combining those different ways of attack together to just take out the enemies as fast as possible. I think it's great. So we've reached the end of the level, but me being who I am and knowing how this game's level design works, I always look for a graffiti that I might have passed over, because sometimes they like to put some of the graffitis right behind the exit to the level.
Yeah, the combat in this game, from what I'm seeing, looks pretty good. I've definitely seen way worse combats in 3D platformers.
Right. And here's some of our objectives. Just finish the level super fast, get an S rank, collect a certain amount of coins, paint all the graffiti, defeat all the enemies, and finish without dying. I usually never die in this game, so I never have a problem completing that objective. But some of the others are tough. Like, to get that amount of coins, you really have to be trying to scavenge every coin you can grab. So you might be noticing this. We're going to switch over to the cool-ass wrestler costume that has that little chair in the back. I love the design of this costume. But so you might notice that shop has a different currency. We're not spending coins. We're splitting those little blue things we're picking up. So those are secret collectibles hidden in secret areas. And they're pretty hard to find. There's 3 in every level. Sometimes you can get them by doing the other objectives, and that's how you buy like the secret costumes is in the costume shop, is by finding the little blue markers. And always, I never find all 3. I only find 1 or 2 because the game is devious about it. Like, yes, basically, Zach, the game is designed to do a run-through where you take it slow and explore the entire level, and then a secondary objective that's kind of like the time trials in Crash Bandicoot, where you just gun it through the level as fast as possible, basically ignoring everything and trying to get the highest speed. And those objectives are for both the main levels and also the boss levels as well. Okay, so this level has a new gimmick. You see these electrified floors. We can only go across them while we're using the graffiti spray move. So if you're trying to walk across those without spraying graffiti, you're going to get hit. So you got to be really careful. And each level in each world introduces some sort of new platforming gimmick like that to keep up the variety. While I do think overall the game has a great aesthetic, I do find the levels overall a little drab, but it is kind of the point. You're basically in a society that's being oppressed by a big evil overlord, and you're trying to basically paint over it and make it more colorful, but it does lead to many of the level gimmicks not always looking super, aesthetically pleasing, because you're technically trying to make them aesthetically pleasing. And that is actually a good transition, I guess, to talk about the story and the writing. So yes, this game does have a story, and it does have voice acting. It's very minimal. Like, I think there's a cutscene at the beginning of the game that is voice acting, and then you don't really get another one until you're fighting the first boss. And then, you won't get another voice cutscene until you're fighting the second boss. And being a lower budget indie game, Zach, the cutscenes are primarily just they're visual novels. They're really well painted, hand-drawn stills that have talking heads over them where the characters are being voice acted. And the voice acting is actually pretty good. I don't really have a problem with the performances by the actors themselves. I think they are trying. I think the material they're given to work with isn't so much bad as just kind of okay. It's kind of just plain. Like I said, it's just a game about you're literally this girl that's trying to stop the big evil overlord that's trying to mind control people in this city. So you're just trying to paint over everything to make everything bright again because you're a rebel. And whenever the cutscenes happen, it's basically just you talking to the main villain, saying the same exact things over and over again, where you're just like, yes, I will stop you for sure this time. And the villain's like, well, I've got a trick up my sleeve. And I mean, it's not poorly written. It's just, there's never, so far anyway, in terms of plot twists or whatever, there's been no real rubs or twists in the story that make any of it more engaging than just being the most base kind of narrative. Like I said, it's told fine. The voice acting's okay. And the art for the stills in the backgrounds will always look great. But the story is not really the reason to really be playing this game. It really is because the level design, the overall gameplay, the controls, the feel of it, obviously the art style, it all feels great. A lot of I saw a few comments calling this the next Hi-Fi Rush, or in terms of it being a slightly earlier release in the year that a lot of people love. But the reception to Rakugaki has not been anywhere close to the incredible love that Hi-Fi Rush got. And even though I haven't played more than past the first boss of Hi-Fi Rush, I need to play the rest of the game. I'm gonna be pretty sure that's a much higher budget, higher produced, probably most likely better game than Rakugaki. Rakugaki on its own, even outside of its aesthetic, it's a 3D platformer in a very traditional sort of way. It just happens to have style and love poured into the level design that makes it stand above the rest. I don't think it's I do not think it's the game of the year, the Hi-Fi Rush of this year, but I can see aesthetic-wise why people might say that, but I do think it's highly recommended and worth picking up. It's a lot of fun. We could finish the level, or check this out. if you explore, yeah, if you explore to the side of the end level, like obviously that's there if you just want to, if you're doing the speed time ranking and you want to go as fast as possible. If not, sometimes behind the end of the level, they'll have an extra platforming section hidden that you can search for. Where usually this is where you'll find the rest of the graffiti spots you have to stamp. What were you trying to say earlier, Zach? Sorry.
I definitely see Hi-Fi Rush when I look at this, at least in the way the levels are designed. But like you guessed, yeah, Hi-Fi Rush has a much bigger budget, has way more presentation. The cutscenes are fully animated, and they're very, very good. Oh,
yes.
I want you to play more Hi-Fi Rush because the game probably has one of the best game to cutscene transitions I've ever seen in a video game. It is flawless.
Oh, wow. I can believe that from what I've seen of, and even just like the opening section of Hi-Fi Rush, when you get shot up into, like from the bottom of the city up to the tops of the buildings, and you just see the full look of the entire city and everything just thumping to the beat of your, like all of it just is amazing.
I would say Hi-Fi Rush has a similar sort of plot where it's about fighting the man, but I'd say Hi-Fi Rush at least has really good writing and very good humor to go along with it.
And Rakugaki does have humor. It just, you know, it's not like cringe-inducing or bad or anything. It just doesn't leave a lasting impression like the gameplay itself. Maybe it'll get better as I get closer to the end of the game, but as it is. I also am playing from a later part of the game and not like the opening, because, like I said, this game's setup doesn't really need much explanation, and I wanted to show the later levels where the level design has more to it. Where there's more gimmicks, that it's a little tougher. Oh yeah, and here I'm showing off the manga costume, which gives her that kind of sketchy looking style. I think it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I think all the costumes look neat, even the different skins. I do agree with you, like, I haven't played Spider-Man 2 yet, but from what I've seen of Miles Morales, yeah, there was only a couple of those in-game skins that I really like. A lot of modern games try to push a lot of skin buying on you, and then I look at the skins they want me to buy, and it's like, no, these are either way too garish, or I'm not paying $15 for a single skin.
Yep. And of course, the skins here are stuff you're buying in-game as you're playing through it, and not stuff you're paying for as DLC.
And they look better than skins that you would be paying for in other games.
Yep. No, they just feel very intentioned, like the developers sat down and thought, okay, if I was playing this game, what kind of skin would I think is super cool that I want to buy and actually use in-game? And they came up with a lot of ones where I was like, yeah, these skins are all awesome. I want to buy all of them. Because the thing that I'm going to show off a little later that's super cool is that, like, the skins where it's just like, you know, like changing the color or the design on your clothes instead of like the full costumes like this one, is that you can actually mix and match the outfit parts to create whatever you want.
Oh, that's neat.
Okay, so here we're in a gimmick level called a .exe level. These levels, continuity-wise, take place inside of a virtual world. Like Vala has like a virtual reality helmet on. And basically, these are optional levels that are more difficult than the main levels, as you can see with this platforming challenge right here. Oh my god. Those go so fast.
Ooh.
Yeah, this gets ridiculous, especially this part up here with the smaller ones where you have to just keep jumping. Ugh. Yeah, and so the graffiti that we're spraying, you can also buy it in shop and get all different kinds of designs. There's a different shop for the big designs and a different shop for like the smaller designs you're using for just like the little collectibles instead of the big ones you do. And I do like the designs of the graffiti. I think they're either cute or they look pretty cool. And I like how the bigger ones are actually like animated and move around, like that the graffiti's actually alive. Oh, jeez, it's so fast. You do have a like a wall jump in this game that I've shown off a few times. So you're like jumping from wall to wall, and it's probably the only move in this game I would call kind of slow. Like I wish we would have some sort of graffiti ability that if we use wall could speed up the wall jumping. Okay, yeah. So it's these enemies right here. They have little shields on their heads, so you have to either attack. You have to attack them from the ground because the spraying from above will not affect them at all. So sometimes they switch the enemies up that way.
I really like the checkpoints.
Yep. Yeah, the designs are awesome. The way they're animated is really cool. And we're not seeing it. I mean, we've been seeing it in some of the levels, but not so much in other levels, where once you spray one of the checkpoints, all the people around the checkpoint start clapping and dancing. As if you're, like, removing the enemy's, the main villain's mind control from them, which I believe the main villain's name is Dr. Buff. And we're going to see a little bit of him later. Yeah, here we have like little grapple points that we can grapple onto. There's been some enemies you can also fight that I've shown off earlier where you have to actually grapple onto them to defeat them. I think that's pretty satisfying. You have to grapple on them fast before they shoot at you. So yeah, that's a .exe level, a little harder than the main levels, but in a way that I actually find pretty fun and satisfying.
That level did look really cool.
So here I'm going to show off mixing and matching outfits. Yeah, futuristic biker jacket, clearly based off of Akira. So yeah, I'm going to show off here that you can sort of just go through and mix and match the outfits. And you'll notice, because I have, even though I'm like mixing and matching costumes, like a pieces of clothing, since I still have the manga costume on, it still keeps that black and white look on and that I can put the costume over. So I imagine if I have like the wrestler costume on or like the schoolgirl costume on, I can still put my clothing outfits over top of it, on top of the costume itself. Which I'm surprised the game even has that much customization. Yeah, I just end up mostly just reusing the fiery badass clothes that I was using at the beginning of the video just because I'm like, not this one, because I want ones that go together. And you can also buy the, like, for example, say there's a full outfit where you only like one of the pieces of clothing on it. You can actually buy them individually and like for a lower price instead of having to buy the full outfit on its own. You might also notice that we can get skins for our little robot buddy too. So at the beginning of the video, I was actually using a costume for him called Low Poly, which redesigns him to look like a PS1 model, like that.
I am a massive fan of low poly skins in modern games. When I unlocked the N64 Mario and Super Mario Odyssey, all that became my primary skin.
Yep. Yeah, and recently Sega just announced that the Sonic Generations remaster coming out in October is going to have a Sonic Adventure themed skin based off of Sonic's Dreamcast model. So I'm all in on that. I love when developers do callback costumes. And I imagine if our robot gets a low poly costume, maybe Vala gets a low poly costume later in the game. We'll have to see. So yeah, here's what the cutscenes are like.
Thought we'd face the guardian of the tether point here. Wait, is that it? Then he'd just leave a headset for anyone to access. Stinks of a trap. Got it.
This entire game reminds me to play more Bomb Rush
Where?
Bomb Rush Cyberpunk.
Feeling a little disoriented there, girl?
No. Okay.
Yeah, I just need to start that game because I'm curious because Bomb Rush Cyberpunk's one of those games where it came out like everybody was so hyped for it. Hideki Nakamura's doing the soundtrack again, just like what Jet said, and it's like a revival of that series. And then it came out, and I think I've heard people like it, but I've heard a lot of just derisiveness too, just kind of back and forth with a lot of people.
Brave, not stupid. My friend Io here is both my way in and out of your dumb little digital world. I'll be just fine.
From what I played of it, I liked it.
Oh, yeah. I keep forgetting you have your little flying toaster with you.
You made Io sad. Now you're really gonna get
See, I've seen Steam reviews calling this game's dialogue cringe, and I don't see it.
Hope you come to appreciate my dumb little digital world.
I feel like people put that label on everything a bit too often.
You don't come out.
Yeah, I agree.
So here's a boss fight. And the bosses in this game are also, yeah, I mean, they're not, so far they haven't been amazing, but they are kind of what you would expect. They're platformer bosses. Yeah, thankfully, Vala has a bit of an invincibility when she's sliding, so I use that to slide under those bottom row of, like, bullet hell stuff he's shooting at us. And yes, you use the checkpoints as a way of damaging the boss. It makes me wish I bought more of the checkpoint graffitis, so that way I could show off more varieties of them, but I mostly just save my coins for the costumes. And see, like, when in Batman Arkham Asylum, when the boss would just send out a bunch of goons, it was kind of annoying because you're just doing the same combat you've been doing the entire game, which feels good. You just expect more from the boss fights. Here, the enemies go down in one hit, so it's not really that big a deal. So yeah, here we have a big collapsible area where if we touch it, we're not going to be able to move very much. And here's the new gimmick they add. But yeah, if you stay hovering long enough, it's not that big a deal. So yes, as you've seen multiple times throughout the video, whenever we get hit, it completely decreases our meter. And the only way we get it back is by defeating enemies and picking up collectibles. And it's always just a big bummer when you lose your meter because it makes all of your attacks so much more colorful. So, and it's funny too, because when you do lose your meter, I like the Vala's like line clips or like the exact things you're saying when it happens. She just goes like, "Damn it," or "Oh man." The other thing that's cool too that I forgot to mention, I don't even think I showed off in the video either, is that when you use like when you're spraying graffiti or when you're sliding along your graffiti trail, you actually there's like a like a color path like of graffiti. You can actually buy different colors of graffiti trails that you can slide along with.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with both. Io, buddy, I think we outdid ourselves.
So yeah, there's somewhat animated cutscenes. And it's funny, too, because these cutscenes feel like they were animated by a different team than the ones that did, like, the stills in the visual novel cutscenes. But yeah, you don't get those too often, but I think they look all right.
Yeah, I like the art style in that scene.
So that's the final level I'm showing off in this part. And we unlocked... Every single time you beat one of the game worlds by beating one of the bosses, you add a new crew member to your hideout. And usually that means like a new shop, new stuff to buy, or some new mechanic. Here, this lady just basically is our sound test. You can listen to... Well, it's a little more than that. You can listen to any of the tracks you've heard in the game so far. And when you play a track with her... If you leave the shop, it'll still play while you're still in the hideout. Which to me, that's always like, if you don't include that, I don't see the point in including the sound test. Usually when games have a sound test, it's nice, but if I'm going to listen to the game's music, I'm going to do that on whatever app I use or on YouTube or whatever. But here, where you can pick a track and then it'll continue to play while you're walking around and shopping and all that, that's perfect. That's why you would want that feature there.
I could understand sound tests for older games, especially before things like YouTube, where you can't just look them up. So just being able to have a sound test to just turn on, like you could just leave your system on, almost like a CD player, and just listen to your favorite game soundtrack is cool. But yeah, nowadays I usually don't see the point in sound tests. I would much prefer it if there's just moments where the game allows me to just pick whatever track I want to listen to during the game.
Right. So yeah, we can just choose through the stuff we listened to so far. I like the designs of a lot of your like squad members. I'm curious to see who the rest you are that you unlock as you get deeper in the game. I want to see what other features they may add. There's also a little training room that's also in this base that I didn't show off earlier. But it's nothing much. It's just like a big open area that lets you test out all your different moves. So that's Rakugaki, the new game coming out from Wabisabi, and a new developer. This is their first game, and it's pretty damn awesome. And I hope that they have more games to come. And and cheers to Gearbox for publishing them.